Coming up on podcast 1374, we're talking about the US spending $3 billion for a domestic battery supply chain and recycling, as Biden says, in your face, China, or something. Also, the new Mercedes eSprinter takes on the E-Transit. It's doing cold weather testing, and that means it's on track to come soon. The 80s movie star car coming back with electric power, and which EV pickup might actually come with a range extender engine? We'll find out on the podcast today. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to EV News Daily. My name is Martin Lee, and it's my job to go through every EV story, so you don't have to. I'm here to save you time. Hey, by the way, check out the other video on the channel today, and that is having a look at the best EV Super Bowl commercials, and we rate them out of 10. Agree or disagree with the ratings that I give them? Let me know in the comments of that video. Hey, by the way, welcome to a new Patreon executive producer. That'll be you, Peter Reiner. And if you get any value out of this podcast, either learn something or entertainment or whatever, I'd invite you to check out the Patreon page. I mention it occasionally. It's how we fund this show. And you're more than welcome to have a look at patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. Become a member, get some benefits, get the ad-free feed as well for your podcast apps. But hey, no worries. If not, I will make this show either way. All right, let's kick off with our first story today. And that's talking about the US investing $3 billion in a battery supply chain. The US Department of Energy announcing funding of $3 billion to develop a battery supply chain for EVs, supporting battery materials, cells, packs, and recycling, even Second Life, because the government wants to ensure, and I quote, that the United States can produce batteries and the materials they contain to increase economic competitiveness, energy independence, and national security. Yeah, certainly in the geopolitical world of China being a superpower that controls how we move around, in other words, our mobility, our battery supply chain. This is why they're spending $3 billion to get that control on home US soil. Probably something that most EV buyers and fans don't think about half the time, but it's a really important thing at kind of political level. Otherwise, you are at the mercy of political powers, which might want to hold something against you or use that leverage. Let's say that. Right, moving on. The world's highest density batteries, according to Amprius, the Californian company that makes them, have shipped the first batch of those. They are silicon anode cells that are 73%, holding 73% more energy than something like Model 3, Model Y, the 2170 cells in a Tesla. That's a good comparison. They take up 37% less volume. Now, Model 3 cells are a good comparison. They hold around 260 watt hours per kilogram, the Amprius ones holding 450. 730 watt hours per litre for the Tesla cells in the 3 and the Y, 1,150 watt hours per litre in the Amprius cells. They have sent a number of these to an industry leader of a generation of high-altitude pseudo-satellites. So very high energy density, very low weight. This, to me, I don't know about you, I'm starting to think about solutions where at the minute lithium-ion batteries could be too heavy. So, aviation, flight, larger vehicles, for instance, trucks are going to need 500, 600, 700 kilowatt hour battery packs for long distance trucking, but they get too heavy, then the payload of the vehicle reduces, and so they become less useful. But those are the kind of places where you can have more expensive cells because it's about life cycle of the vehicle. All you got to do is over 3, 4, 5, 10 years, make sure that cost is cheaper than running combustion trucking. And you can use new technology in those vehicles that might be more expensive because the bottom line at the point of purchase doesn't matter. It's about how you run those vehicles. So the company says that the silicon nanowires are routed right into the substrate of the anode. So conductivity and the power, therefore, is very high. The cell life cycle is excellent and it's improving, they say, although it doesn't put any numbers on it. It says the anode is the only part of the battery that changes. The rest can be produced using existing manufacturing components, methods, factories, etc. Hugely important. I'll pop a link to New Atlas in the show notes so you can read more. Now, coming up on the podcast very soon, we'll talk about the 80s movie star car that's coming back as an electric, and where this particular truck that's on the way could get a range extender. Stick around, those stories are coming up. Now, the Mercedes-Benz eSprinter, their answer to the Ford e-Transit, has been doing some Arctic Circle testing down at minus 30 degrees. Got some pictures sent in to us by Mercedes of these prototype models doing extreme cold weather testing close to the Arctic Circle. The purpose of this grueling phase of development is to evaluate components, powertrain, charging system with the icy conditions, writes DrivingElectric.com. Mercedes did reveal that this next-gen eSprinter will have double the range of the current one, so that'll be around 200 miles on a charge around e-transit territory, and production starts in the second half of next year in South Carolina and 2 plants in Germany as well. Now, DeLorean are back. The company who currently hold the official rights to the DeLorean name will launch it as an all-electric car. The former British engineer Stephen Wynne acquired the rights to DeLorean back in the 90s, and the new DeLorean company is the largest source of spare parts and repair parts. Now they want to release their own modernised, fully electric DeLorean. This came via social media, a recent tweet, according to InsideEVs.com. It'll be called DeLorean Evolved, of course, with a capital E, capital V stylized, which is a bit overdone in EV world, but hey, lots of people do it. I understand it. Put E and V next to each other, capitalize them. Get it? EV? Get it? Yeah, we get it. Got it for a long time. Anyway, all we really need to know at this point is it'll be a luxury sports car. Maybe it could be Ital Design collaborating with DeLorean on this new EV. It won't be cheap. It'll be a limited run. There'll be people there that have got some spare cash that, I don't know, just love that vehicle, love DeLorean, love the history. Could be a great car as well, and want to buy it. Now we'll talk about the Ram 1500 EV pickup. It is coming late to the party. Before that, you're going to get the Hummer, the F-150 Lightning, Silverado, Rivian, Cybertruck, maybe. All of those vehicles will be out before the Ram. That's coming out in 2024. So yeah, Cybertruck, I mean, you'd hope. However, even though those other vehicles will have a 3-year head start, Ram say that they have something in their favour. First of all, a website. They've got a website called ramrevolution.com where they're asking you, truck buyers, what you want from trucks. Hopefully they know. I mean, hopefully it's just free market research. Go to ramrevolution.com and say what you want. But hey, customer research is always good. You'd hope they have a pretty good idea already. And the CEO saying it will come with a class-shattering, or be available with a class-shattering range extender. Now, aren't we done with range extenders? Maybe not. I mean, BMW with the i3, legendary for it, but can't they go the way of everything else that we don't need anymore? Or maybe we do. Maybe you think we do need range extenders on trucks because towing with trucks is popular. Not great for batteries. So maybe you could drive on battery power 90% of the time, but when you're towing, elevation, use the Rex, it's possible. Like, I can see uses for that. I don't want to advocate burning stuff. Maybe just make a better EV Ram. Just saying. Or put a petrol engine inside it and not have to make a better EV because that'll get you out of the hole. Now, BMW are next in the news, taking a bigger share of what was a 50-50 joint venture. They've now got the go-ahead from Chinese regulators to raise their stake in Brilliance to 75%, costing them about 4 billion euros. The move makes BMW Brilliance the first joint venture of vehicles with a foreign ownership exceeding 50% in China after authorities scrapped restrictions. Tesla, of course, was the first one to be wholly owned and not have to go in with a joint venture with a domestic company. Brilliance, they make the BMW iX3, for instance. Now, also staying in China and Beijing are opening up some priorities for a couple of companies. The first one is NIO, particularly NIO with their ET7. It's going to be a performance sedan, 600 miles of range out this year. How do they do that? Solid-state batteries, or what they call semi-solid-state batteries. And Beijing municipality are prioritising the factory build-out for their battery maker, the company that they're in partnership with for those packs. Also, Tesla and their new design centre is listed among the other priority projects of local government. The Beijing Municipal Government Work Report lists these businesses that will be prioritised. So good news for Tesla, good news for NIO, creating what they call a favourable framework for those businesses to operate. I'll pop a link to Notebook Check in the show notes so you can read more. Now, good news in Canada. Ontario, actually, ONroute announced plans last year to install 69 fast chargers at their rest stops across Ontario. Now, got more details thanks to Drive Tesla Canada about the CHAdeMO adapters. Of course, they'll have a CCS plug for all EVs and the CHAdeMO adapter for Leafs, but also for Teslas. They are built into the adapter, so it looks like it's padlocked to the charger. So you can't walk away with it. Of course, you'll be limited to 50 kilowatts, but if you're desperate for a charge, good news for Tesla drivers and for all EV owners for those new 69 fast chargers. How did January sales go in China? Wholesale sales, so both sales in China and also for export of their EVs, 412,000 units in the month of January alone. Holy moly, 141% up year on year. 333,000 pure battery electrics in the month of January alone, 80,000 plug-in hybrids, about an 80-20 split there. Retail sales in China rose 132% to 347,000 units, but why the difference between the number I first gave you and that one? All because there were 52,000 exports, which was well up on the 8,000 exports in December. Tesla leading the way, their Shanghai factory by far and away making more vehicles to export than they sell to their domestic market, at least in January. About 40,500 China-made vehicles in January were exported. Also big exporters were SAIC and Dongfeng. Pop a link to CnEVPost in the show notes so you can read more. And more Chinese companies are developing the 4680 cylindrical battery cells, according to Businesskorea website. CATL, EVE, and CBAK are now starting mass production of the 4680 Tesla cells. They are the cylindrical baked bean tin batteries, 46 millimeters diameter, 80 millimeters length. Panasonic, LG, and Samsung also preparing to manufacture them. But as I always say, it is a form factor. What is inside, we don't know more details. It could be to Tesla's spec because they want to become a customer of Tesla. What Tesla do with that form factor and how they make those cells at the Tesla facilities and what the others do, unless you are using Tesla technology under license, you can't say that they are the Tesla cells. And I've seen this reported that more and more companies are making the Tesla cells. Well, they're not. Really, just a form factor, just shape. But we don't know. It could be. We just need more details. I'll be on the lookout for that. Well, thank you so much for watching the show today. If you haven't signed up for the audio version of this podcast, you blimmin' well can do. It's all right. It's like this, but without pictures. But it's dead handy to get me in your ears when you're out and about, walking the dog, going to the gym. And if you want to have a look at our Patreon page, you can do that too. It's patreon.com/EVNewsDaily. It's the only way this show gets on the air. Thank you so much to everyone who is a member on Patreon. A handful of, compared to the total size of the audience, it's a small number of people, like 250 people, fund this show. It's amazing. Thank you so much. Have a good one. I'll see you tomorrow.